We, of course, have seen this New York Rangers team make a bunch of changes with the roster and coaching staff since the beginning of last regular season. And how this team has started this regular season, though, has just been really crazy. This has just been a wild start to the season for the Rangers, as they, of course, last season at moments were a pretty disastrous team defensively. They had some major flaws in that area, and I think obviously that was an area that the team absolutely needed to try and fix. And I think they did a pretty good job of, making some upgrades there, as they ended up picking up Will Borgen throughout last season there. I think that was a good pickup. They traded away guys like Keandre Miller and Jacob Trouba. They got a guy like Vladislav Gavrikov, of course, who is a true top pairing caliber shutdown defenseman. I think he has been pretty phenomenal so far. He's looked really good. That was a nice pickup. And, even a guy like Carson Soucy, in the games that he played before he got hurt, I think he looked pretty good this season. And so far, we even a guy like, Matthew Robertson, who's had to step into a, second line role there, a second pairing role alongside Will Borgen in those games with Soucy out. I think he's looked pretty good as well, while, having a pretty limited sample size at the NHL level previously. So we have seen this team defensively, I think, look a whole lot better than last season. In net, we have seen Jonathan Quick and Igor Shesterkin especially look absolutely incredible there. And the craziest part is the Rangers, while fixing, I would say, their biggest problem from last season there, which was the defensive play, and now it seemingly kind of flipped right around, as the biggest problem to begin this season has clearly been the lack of scoring. This team just cannot find the back of the net. They are getting a good amount of high danger scoring chances, medium danger ones, and even low danger ones. They're up there top three in all categories on moneypuck.com for high danger, low danger, and medium danger chances, but they just cannot seem to find the back of the net. This team has really struggled to score goals this season, and it has obviously been the biggest reason on kind of why this Rangers team is right now 2-3-1. They could have such a better record. This team could be pretty much undefeated almost if they did not go out there and lay such massive eggs offensively, where they just literally cannot find the back of the net in way too many of these games. I mean, to begin this season, of course, they played 6 games so far. They've been shut out in 3 of those 6 games, which is just unacceptable. It happened to the Pittsburgh Penguins, of course, which, let's be honest, although they got a nice veteran squad there, I don't think are really that amazing of a team. Then you've got the Washington Capitals, where we saw Charlie Lindgren just play absolutely outstanding, and he shut the Rangers down there quite a bit. And then against the Edmonton Oilers with Stuart Skinner in net, who is, a pretty up and down goalie. He can definitely have his pretty shaky moments where he goes out there, puts on a pretty good performance, and ends up shutting out the Rangers as well. So 3 out of the 6 games there so far, this team has been shut out in, and 10 of the 11 goals scored have come in only 2 games. So really, it's just been an absolute disaster start for this team offensively. Like I said, defensively, they've looked really great in net there. They've had a guy like Igor Shesterkin play absolutely phenomenal. Even in the one game we saw Jonathan Quick play, he's made some pretty good stops there. I mean, 20 out of 21 shots he faced, he stopped. That's not bad at all. And obviously, at some point there, things are going to change. They're going to be able to score more goals with how many chances they're getting. I mean, something's going to change eventually, you kind of imagine, but it just is unfortunate to see because, this team's biggest problem last season was the poor defensive play, and in net, I think Igor obviously wasn't near his kind of prime self. Now we're seeing Igor right back into prime Vezina caliber form. He has looked absolutely incredible so far. Even the backup in his one game looked good. The defensive play has improved a whole lot from last season there. Gavrikov's looked phenomenal, I think. Even a guy like Matthew Robertson stepping in there for Soucy, he's looked pretty good. Soucy in his few games there looked pretty good. I think Schneider and Borgen have been solid. Nothing too special, but pretty solid there. Vakinainen hasn't been phenomenal, but he's your 6/7 defenseman, so it is what it is. But the point being, this team defensively has looked a whole lot better. In net, they've looked a whole lot better. And now they're having just such massive struggles offensively. And of course, the lack of goal scoring has definitely been the reason on why this Rangers team, doesn't have a better record right now and is currently sitting at 2-3-1 while having their goalies allow just 6 goals against in 6 games played. The Rangers goaltenders right now are allowing 1 goal against per game, and this team still has a 3-1 record. It absolutely just makes no sense at all. We saw Igor Shesterkin, you have a shutout in the one game there. He lets in 2 goals in one game, and the rest of them, he's allowed 1 goal in each, and then Quick in his one game allowed 1 goal himself. And then, of course, the team's got some empty netters, of course, but there has been 1 goal against per game on average against these goalies when they're in net there. And, this team still has a negative record. It is pretty insane how good the goalies have been, how good defensively they've been, and with where the record sits right now. And taking a look at the forwards here, I fully understand guys like JT Miller and Artemi Panarin, missed a good amount of time there in training camp and preseason. I've talked about it in past videos. And, obviously Vincent Trocheck going down there with an injury and having to slide in a guy like Zibanejad from wing to center and then move a guy like Sheary into the top 6. It's not ideal and it's not going to help out the offense a ton, but the point is, this Rangers team has had their 4th line of Adam Edstrom, Sam Carrick, and Matt Rempe, I think, be the most complete, most consistent, and overall just the best line of this Rangers team so far to begin this season among the forwards. The 4th line of Edstrom, Carrick, and Rempe, I think, has probably been the best. And that's, of course, not really how it should be. You want to have your top lines, being the best there, but to begin this season, they haven't been, and I think this 4th line has been. You've got a guy like Sam Carrick right now tied for 2nd on the entire team in points right now with JT Miller with 3 points there. Sam Carrick has 3 assists. Then you've got Adam Edstrom tied for 3rd place with 2 assists there in 6 games played. Then you've got a guy like Matt Rempe who's got a goal when, of course, a lot of other players don't. We've scored 11 total. He's got 1 of them. So they've created some offense there. They've got some good looks. They've got a goal. They've got, 6 combined points there in 6 games played, which isn't too bad for a 4th line. And I think, guys like Adam Edstrom and Matt Rempe, they're using their, stick length and reach to their advantage. They're using it to block passing lanes, tip passes, play some good defensive hockey. I think they've looked kind of improved in that area from last season. I think this 4th line in general has just played a whole lot better than last year, and they were pretty good last year together, but they've taken some steps up for sure. They're locking things down defensively. They're playing some overall good kind of forechecking hockey there. They're putting pressure on. They're playing physically, playing with energy, creating some looks here and there. I mean, I just think this 4th line has been the best, and it's not what you really want to have as your best line because you expect your top paid players like a Panarin, a Zibanejad, a JT Miller, Lafreniere to go out there and produce, but unfortunately, they haven't done that so far. So hopefully things turn around soon. I mean, like I said, they fixed their biggest problem from last season, and now we're seeing a whole different problem. I knew the offense wasn't going to be some elite one, wasn't going to be like top 5 or, top 10 maybe even in the NHL, but it should be a whole lot better than what they are right now. I think this team, if they want to make playoffs and want to go on a run, they're going to have to rely on Igor, which is exactly what I expected, but I did not expect this offense to be this bad and this quiet to begin things, even with an injury to a guy like Trocheck. They've just been so bad offensively, and I mean, obviously, it's not like they've been bad in creating chances. It's just they've been bad in finishing those chances. They've created a lot of them, like I said. They are top 3 on moneypuck.com for, high danger, medium danger, and low danger chances. It's just they cannot find the back of the net right now. And, some of that's due to, good goaltending, of course, they're going up against. A guy like Charlie Lindgren played great. Silovs played great in the season opener. We saw a guy like, Stolarz play pretty good in the Leafs the other night, but I think the main thing has been just this team not being good enough in finishing their chances when they get these really good looks, which, of course, has been their biggest problem to begin this season, which is why they obviously have a pretty not great record, which is 2-3-1. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post a video about the New York Rangers every single day. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video and on how the Rangers have played so far. Obviously, it hasn't been great there, but who do you think's been good? Maybe who do you think's been bad? Who do you think's been really kind of impressive or really disappointing? Let me know your thoughts on this beginning to the Rangers season so far, which has been a pretty crazy one. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.